Morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Gittin, Parak Aleph, Chapter 1, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. All right. Ha'omer, one who says, Tein getzel ishti, give this get to my wife, meaning give this bill of divorce to my wife, ushtar shichr zela avdi, or he tells him, give this document of freedom to my servant. Imrat salach b'shneiam yachzar. If the sender wants to back out on in both cases, he may do so. Leave Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Okay. Now, halacha is we've been discussing until now, or we had already examples beforehand, how you can make a shliach to give your wife a get, even though it's supposed to come from you, it's supposed to come from the husband to the wife. But if you make a shliach, you make an agent, then the agent can act in your place, and he can give the bill of divorce to your wife, and that will have her be divorced. So too, the woman can have a shliach, an agent, to receive the get. She has to receive the get for the get to take effect, for it to be divorced. If she herself isn't present, but she sends an agent to receive it for her, then when the agent receives the get, she's divorced. Okay? So now, in this case, even though the wording of the Mishnah is Tein getzel ishti, give this get, meaning this bill of divorce to my wife, and it almost sounds like you're telling him to give it to her would mean that he's your shliach, your agent. That's not the case here. The case here is actually that the woman did not make any agent to receive the get, but you're telling this person, receive the get for her. Be her agent to receive the get. That's the case. Your case is here, you're not making this person your agent, but you're telling him, be her agent. Now, there are times that a person can be an agent for someone else if the agency is for the benefit of that person. So therefore, if let's say I find something on the ground and I want to acquire it for you, you didn't make me an agent to do it, but since there's, no question that, the assumption is that there's benefit in that, therefore, I can go ahead and be your agent, even if you didn't ask me. And as long as you don't afterwards protest against it, at the end, you acquired it once I picked it up. Now, at the same time, if what you're being an agent for this person is not completely to their benefit, it's not always to their benefit, then without basically knowing that it's to their benefit, in those cases, you can't be their agent. Can't be their agent. You can only be an agent to benefit someone, but not to hurt someone. And therefore, in any kind of case where we can't be for sure, where it's not clearly to the benefit of the recipient, then you can't be the recipient's shliach. All right. So with all that, we have a case here where you go over to a person and say, take this get from my wife, which means acquire this get from my wife. So if the agent acquires it right away, if once he takes it, he acquires it for the woman, that means the get took effect once he received it. Could the husband then turn around and say, forget it, I changed my mind? Too late. But if, let's say, you give it to the person and he's not the agent of the woman, and at the end of the day, maybe he'll just land up being your shliach to give it to her, well, you would be able to go, I won't go that far. But if, let's say, the case is, but if we say that it's not that it's not a benefit for her, if we say that the person receiving it for her is not considered her agent, then I can back out, right? Because nothing happened yet. So the Mishnah says, if you give a get to someone to acquire, a get to acquire for your wife, or to acquire the document of freedom for your slave, and you gave it to him, and you told him acquire it for them, the halach says, Reb Meir, you want to back out in both cases? Go ahead. Which means that we're saying that this person does not automatically become their agent, because this is not automatically to their benefit. For a woman to be divorced is not considered to her benefit. For a slave to be freed is not, according to Reb Meir, is not considered to her benefit. Now,
for the slaves,
it's also not considered for their benefit, according to Reb Meir, because even in the case of a slave, you can back out. Okay, so what's the explanation that we say here that it's not to their benefit? So the way it's explained is that since a divorced wife and a freed slave lose the financial support of their husband or master,
uh,
divorce and freedom cannot be considered a complete benefit. Therefore, the agent cannot acquire the document for the wife or slave. The divorce or emancipation cannot take effect until they personally receive the document. Until then, the husband or master can change his mind. Meaning, it sounds like if at the end of the day, I didn't acquire it for her, but I went in and I gave it to her, it's like understood that you could be my shliach, you could be my shliach too. Initially, I'm telling you to be her shliach. If that doesn't work because you can't be her shliach, it's not your benefit, then you're my benefit, you're my shliach to at least deliver it to her. So once she gets it, it sounds like it's going to be done. The question is before she gets it. And the point of that is that before she actually gets it, this person who took it for her cannot acquire it for her, cannot be her agent because it's not to her benefit. And so too, it's the case of a document freedom. It's not considered, according to Meir, the benefit for the slave because he loses his support. And therefore, you cannot do it without his consent. That is Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim say, Gittin noshim, that yes, in the case of a bill of divorce for a woman, he agrees with Rabbi Meir that the person cannot be an agent for her without her consent. Avaloi b'shechruri avodim, but not when it comes to the freedom of slaves. Because the rule is that we may benefit a person even not in front of him, even without his knowledge. But to basically hurt the person or damage the person in some way, do something to disadvantage, you can't do that unless it is in front of them. So the Chachamim make a distinction, and they're saying for a woman it's not a benefit to get a get. For the slave to be free, it is a benefit. Why? What happened to the idea of the fact that the slave is losing support from the master? Why is it called, meaning one can understand there's a benefit in the sense that, you're going free. But if they're losing support, then it's not a clear-cut benefit. So what happened to that? Why don't the Chachamim consider that as an issue? And the Chachamim explain, because if a master decides not to support his slave, Rashai is permitted to do so. Just because you own a slave doesn't mean you have to support him. Tell him to go beg. According to the letter of the law, you don't have to support him. Typically, he is supported by the master. There's no obligation for him to support him. And therefore, being that if he wants not to support the slave, he could. So if the whole idea is, well, it's not to his benefit because he's losing support, he can lose the support anytime. The master can decide not to be supporting him. Something to do with the divorce specifically, with the freedom specifically. And therefore, the Chachamim say, the fact that he's losing support is not considered to his detriment in comparison to everything else he would gain from it. And therefore, when it comes to the document of freedom for the servant, even without his knowledge, you can receive it for him because it's to his benefit. The same idea cannot be applied to a wife. Because as the Chachamim conclude, if he wants not to support his slave, he's permitted. But you can't get out of supporting your wife. That's the ksuba. And therefore, if she gets divorced, it is to her detriment, or it could be to her. It's not completely to her advantage, and therefore you can't do it without her consent. So therefore, right now, what we have here is a machlekes Reb Meir and the Chachamim. According to everybody, to accept a get for a woman, you cannot do that without her consent because it's not considered to her benefit, or it's not obviously to her benefit. On the other hand, when it comes to accepting a get for a slave, we give and a get shikhr to receive a document of freedom for a slave. There, Reb Meir says there too you cannot do it without his consent because he's losing support. And the Chachamim say, no, the loss of support is not considered enough of a loss for the servant because he's not guaranteed it anyway, and therefore it's not considered that kind of significant loss. Then therefore, the freedom that he gets is considered to his advantage, and therefore you would be able to accept the document of freedom for him even without his knowledge. Okay, we'll continue with the rest of the Mishna tomorrow.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, so the wife wants to